morning. So if you've got your Serve the World Month notebook, pull this out. Our theme is love everyone, everywhere you go. Some key dates. Next week is our Child Sponsorship Sunday, partnering with Children of the Nations. We have also the Watoto Children's Choir will be here in the evening. If you want to host some of the kids with their, what do they call them, aunties and uncles that are traveling with them, or help provide a meal, we'd love for you to be a part of that. There's a sign-up table out at the table out there. Our mission kickoff is on the 16th. We've got 2 trips to Malawi. We've got a 50th anniversary trip to Liberia. We're also doing lunch on the lawn. So right after this service on the 16th, we'll all walk out there and we're having an international potluck. Potluck, if you don't know, if you're under the age of 20, it's the 1970s recreated, but cooler. So bring your favorite dish that represents your culture, or a dish from around the world that you love. And we've got a pretty cool surprise on that day that you're not going to want to miss. And then our Thanksgiving boxes, we'll have those out over the next couple weeks, and we'll give those out on the 23rd. We've got local opportunities. The Oasis downtown, we have an open house on the 12th. We've got merch with a purpose. So buy a shirt, give it to somebody, wear it. Yes, this is a pale pink that I'm wearing. It is not cream. It's not white. I'm 56 years old. I can still pull off pale pink. So if I can do this, you need to get some on your own and bring it home. We have our Malawi trip, Liberia trip. Take this, an update on the STEM school in Malawi. We finally broke ground. So just take this home, look through it. We'd love for you to be a part of what you're doing. If I'm honest, this phrase right here, love everyone, everywhere you go, it's for me. It's something that I've needed and been wrestling through, because over the last couple years, I've realized that I get angry quicker. I've realized that I get grumpy, that I hold grudges over people. And I've been processing, why is that happening? Is it partly because I'm getting older? But what I'm also seeing is I don't like your opinion. And your opinion is you. And all of us have a you in our lives, where we stand on this side of the stage and you think, I can't believe they just said that. I can't believe they just posted that. I can't believe they believe that. And this person over here is so entrenched in their beliefs and where they stand, I can't believe you think that. And I've found myself sometimes standing over there, sometimes standing over here, sometimes standing here going, what in the world is going on? You see, what happens is every time we allow you to bother me, I begin to build a wall to keep your thoughts and your opinions away from my thoughts and my opinions. And this multiplies and grows. And I'll sit there sometimes at night on my phone and just be like, oh my word. And my wife Melinda will just look, she's like, why don't you put that down? She goes, that's clearly bothering me. I said, my phone is not bothering me. That person is. You see, a couple weeks ago, Palmer said, we're in a time when we're so divided. And we had these cards on our seats, and it was this 8-week commitment to diving into a deeper relationship with Jesus, to allowing him to take over your finances, to take over your thoughts, to take over your social media, to take over your thinking, to just go deeper. And it says, I will bring, I will do, and I will become. And I helped create the card, so I've been wrestling through the questions, and it's just kind of great, like, we'll just put these cards, that'll be great. But on the second Sunday we did this, I was sitting right over there, and this was on Melinda's seat, and I was standing up, and Palmer was explaining it, and all of a sudden I realized what I need to write down. And so I grabbed her card, and really teeny, I wrote, I will become less grumpy and less judgmental. And then I put it down, actually I hid it underneath my seat. But I brought that back to my office. And in my office, I have this huge piece of glass on my wall. It's my dry erase board where my thoughts just get dumped on a regular basis. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about my season, and I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about me, and I was thinking about everything that I was struggling through, and I realized, and I wrote this statement on my board, and it just says, love everyone, everywhere you go. And I've been processing that, and I've been thinking about what that means. And when I see a post, or I see a comment, or I hear something that's said, or I see someone that's doing something, and I begin to react, I say that phrase. I just need to love everyone, everywhere I go. And yet we stand here, and we say to them, I don't know if you're listening, or I don't even know if you fully understand what I'm saying. How can you not comprehend that what I'm saying is right and good? And like I said, that person over there in the same place is saying, what are you thinking? As followers of Jesus, one of the things that we try to focus on here at the Grove is these core teachings of Jesus and how he calls us to live and who he calls us to become and where he calls us to go. And yet we live in a world where we see people that we maybe sit next to in church or know pretty well, and we see the comment and we instantly just cut them off. Or we instantly close the book, or we build a wall, or we do whatever it takes to keep them away from me. Or we enter into the conversation and we begin to bicker and go back and forth. And what I found is if I'm not sitting with the person that is completely different than me, then I'm never going to understand their perspective. One of the people that I look to is Carlos Whitaker. He's an author, but he bridges the gap really well with looking at the core teachings of Jesus and says, that's great that you believe this, or that you think this, or that this is important, or that this is where you stand. But what does Jesus say that we're called to do? He said this last week. Carlos said, when did we trade the Great Commission, go into all the world and preach the gospel, for the great comment section? We have become addicted to outrage and allergic to empathy. You see, what happens is the farther and the deeper we go into this great comment section, and that is kind of all these little pockets of our world, it's this slippery slope that all of a sudden you kind of get to this place where you look around and you have to ask, how did we even get into this conversation? How did I get into this thread? How did I get into this place? This isn't what I wanted to be a part of. See, every now and then I think that we have to hit the reset button. 25 years ago, I hit the reset button on my faith because I'd grown up in church and I really wanted to figure out, what does it mean to follow Jesus? And what does he hope and dream for my life? About 10 years ago, I hit the reset button again, and I asked the question, God, why is all this happening? Like, this is hard. This season is really difficult. Recently, I started hitting the reset button again, and I've been asking Jesus, like, how? How can I love everyone everywhere I go? So the key idea and the thing that I've been wrestling through is, in a world of division, harsh words, and opposing opinions, followers of Jesus must choose a different way to be. Our calling is to be people known for our love, our compassion, and humility, and our mandate is to bless and to love everyone, everywhere we go. Each morning, I get up, and one of my habits is I have the Message translation, and it's got to read through the Bible in a year, and I read a little bit from the Old Testament and a little bit from the New Testament, and I like the Message because it's an easy read. It's not an exact translation, but it speaks to me. So last week I was in 1 Peter, and I read in 1 Peter chapter 3, this passage, and it says, be agreeable, be sympathetic, be loving, be compassionate, be humble. That goes for all of you. No exceptions, no sharp-tongued sarcasm. Instead, bless. That's your job, to bless. You'll be a blessing, and you'll also get a blessing. You see, that word that it starts off with is just this simple be. And it says to be agreeable, be sympathetic, be loving, be compassionate, be humble. That goes for all of you, no exceptions. What if you became known for being a person of love, or being known for a person of compassion, or a person who brings hope, or a person who is safe to sit and talk with, or a person that is known for loving people deeply? See, what I've realized is the question, who are you becoming, reflects who God is calling you to be. And what I've realized in my season of negativity, of anger, of just being jaded, and I've realized there's all these arrows flowing out of me as I'm pointing and I'm looking and I'm blaming and I'm focused so much what's around me that I stopped looking at what's in me and what God is doing through me. In a sense, I got off my path for a little bit. See, loving everyone, everywhere you go, begins with asking Jesus to go with me and to be with me. And at the center of all of that, I think we stand in these areas and say, this is what you need to become. In reality, what Jesus is saying is, here's what you need to do with your heart. Don't worry about them. And don't worry about them. Be a person that is known for your love. Be a person that is known for your grace. Be a person that is known for your kindness. Be a person that reflects the heart of Jesus. You see, what I think we're called to do is to live this lifestyle of loving people exactly where they're at, even if you just absolutely disagree with where they're standing, what they're voicing, what they're about. Just be a person of love. That passage in 1 Peter, it says, go to that next slide. Agreeable, be sympathetic, be loving, be compassionate, be humble. That goes for all of you. And then it says, no exceptions, no retaliation, no sharp-tongued sarcasm. When you're laying there in bed at night, and this glowing thing of death is over your faith, and you're blowing out your thumb joint by doing this. And then you stop and you realized that's not correct. And they need to be told that. Did you know that never actually changes anyone's opinion? When I drive by somebody's house and I see the sign of the person they're voting for, the thing that they're standing for, I don't stop and go, oh, you're right, I need to change. I just think, oh, okay, that's what they stand for. You see, when you see this no statement, there's no exceptions, no sharp tongue, no sarcasm. My favorite 2 weeks of the year is when I go to Malawi. Because in Malawi, we kind of unplug. But what I tell our team, last year we had 78 people. Part of our training is we sit here once a month. And the thing that we talk about is when you're in Malawi, there's no politics. There's no conversations. There's not a hint of it. There is loving people. There's being with the people in Chimpampa. There's being with your team. And if you guys completely disagree, like incredibly, can you agree that Jesus is about love? And these next 2 weeks is about bringing that hope and joy to people around you. Your opinion is great. Your opinion is fantastic. Pause it. And I love it. I love those 2 weeks. You see, no is a very harsh word. And it's easy to say no to somebody that you don't know. If I don't know you, and you voice your opinion, or you put your flag in the ground, or you put your beliefs, or you put your whatever, I can just say no. But the second I enter into this conversation with you and life and experience, and I begin to know you, it changes. My wife last week was weeding our front yard. Yes, I should have helped. She's so gifted at it, though. I just didn't want to rob her of that blessing. And so as she's out there, this guy walks up to her, and he says, "Can I help you?" Now, no one offers to help weed a yard. That's silly. And she was a little caught off guard, and she said, "No, it's okay." He says, "Ma'am, can I please help you weed? Can I do that for you?" And she says, "No, it's okay. I'm almost done." And then he stopped and he looked at her and he put his hands together and he says, "Ma'am, can I please do this for you?" Now, his name's Ramon. He lives in our neighborhood, more like wanders. He's homeless, somewhat. He's absolutely covered head to toe in tattoos. You can tell he's lived an incredibly difficult life. His wife goes with him, and their little teeny dog, Mommy's is the name of the little dog. And I think she was a little bit caught off guard, but then she leaned into it and she says, "Yeah, you can do this for me." He says, "I promise, I'll get it perfect for you." And he gets down, he's literally on his hands and knees weeding. And at the end, he comes and knocks on his door and he says, "I didn't quite finish, but I'll be back tomorrow. Is there anything you could do to help?" Now, before you know Ramon, no. Go get a job. Go figure it out. You judge. When you see his heart, when you see the life, when you understand the story, when you feel the brokenness, when you begin to know him, yeah, I can help you. So we helped him out a little bit. He didn't come back the next day. I think it was 2 or 3 days later, I pull in and Ramon's out there again on his hands and knees and he's pulling stuff. And the day comes again and we help him out again. And she says to him, "Okay, that's great, thank you." He goes, "No, I need to finish the job." She goes, "No, it's okay." The next day he shows up again. And we're like, what do we got to do to get rid of this guy? And then we realized, well, that's kind of opposite of what Jesus was talking about, and we're supposed to love everyone everywhere we go, so let's lean into this. And so we helped him out again, and he was almost at the point of tears. You see, I've seen Ramon. I've seen him riding around my neighborhood. I've made judgmental statements. But now I know him. Now I understand his story. When you know somebody, it changes. Clarissa works for Live Love. She's our greeter at the Oasis. She's our host for all our activities. She stands at the front. She's the kindest, most gentle, most beautiful person you can imagine. We've been working with Clarissa and her family for probably 15 years, 16 years. Several years ago, she made some poor decisions, got arrested, and did 6 years in jail. When she got out, I was talking to her this last week. I'm like, what was that like? And she says, every place that I tried to go and get a job, every single person said no. She goes, I even got to the point where I got 2 interviews in, and then they found out, I'd done time. They said, I'm sorry, no. And so when we hired her, I said, what was that like? She goes, that was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. And I told Clarissa, I'm like, Clarissa, you're like one of my favorite people. I love watching her welcome people and hug people. How you doing, mijo? You okay? And she'll bring them in. It's just this beautiful presence. You see, you think about loving everyone everywhere they're at. What if we were loving everyone except for those that went down a bad path? Or loving everyone except for those that made bad decisions? Loving everyone except for those that's life has been interrupted with some chaos? I don't think there's a person in the room that could sit here and say, I'm worthy. What I've found living and serving and working and being with the poor is, first of all, I hate saying the poor, because what I've found is they're the blessed ones. And when I'm with the wealthy or the set, the strong, the ones with strength, they're the ones that feel weak to me sometimes. But when you sit with the poor, I watch people as we judge them. And yet when you sit with them, you find joy and hope and beauty. The passage in 1 Peter ends with this. It just says, instead, bless. That's your job, to bless. You'll be a blessing, and you'll also get a blessing. That's your J-O-B. Imagine if we took that seriously. If every moment of our days, of our weeks, we focused on being a blessing. I'm going to bless you with hope. I don't agree with you, but I'm going to bless you. I don't look like you, but I'm going to bless you. I don't come from where you're from, but I'm going to be a blessing. I don't understand it, but I'm going to bless you. You are absolutely broken, but I'm going to bless you. See, in Jewish tradition, they had that when somebody was broken or hurting or filled with sorrow, or there was a death, there was something that was beyond painful, that it was too much for one person to carry, they would come and just sit with them and be with them. And the whole focus was just to bless. You see, in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus says, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. See, our version oftentimes of the people that we're supposed to bless is very different than the people that Jesus surrounded himself with. You look at the people that Jesus loved to be with, the people that he lifted up and that was impressed with. He calls out the widow that gave her last 2 cents in the offering. The tax collector, the dishonest tax collector that's so broken and filled with anxiety that when he hears Jesus is coming, he goes and climbs a tree just so he can seize him, and Jesus stops and brings him in. Jesus sits with the women that had been with 5 husbands and was unhappy with where she was at. The nameless child that he calls out. You see him over and over talking about the blind beggar, the adulteress, all these people that are the cast-outs, the not good enough, the people that are weak, in our opinion, are the ones that Jesus went and sat with and said, I desperately love you. You see, strength in our world is very different than strength for Jesus. There's a quote I read this week, and it's a hard one. It says, strength, good looks, connections, and the competitive instinct may bring a person success in a society like ours, but those very qualities may block entrance to the kingdom of heaven. And I think what it means by that quote is, I'm good enough. Paul's, I can do it. I got this. Instead of being broken into the point where I'm saying, God, I need you to be with me in this. Where I'm completely relying on him to guide me and to lead me, to walk with me, to give up my opinion, my thoughts, my importance, my everything to step into this blessing of letting God walk with me and be with me. Jesus said, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, blessed are the weak, blessed are the broken, blessed are those that hunger for righteousness. You see, loving everyone, everywhere you go, means just that, exactly where they're at. I don't need to come in and fix you. I don't need to come in and give you my opinion, unless you ask. I don't need to come and make this right. I just need to be with you right where you're at. One of my heroes is a guy named Father Gregory Boyle. He has an organization called Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles, and it's the largest gang intervention partnership program in the world. And what you see is people that are broken or people that are in gangs. What I've found is oftentimes they're in the gangs because they've grown up in such a broken world. And then they enter into this circle of people that love them, and it changes everything. And we, as a society, go in and say, they're bad, and here's what we need to do to fix them. Father Gregory Boyle said, what if we just went in and we loved them? And we gave them pathways to work their way out of their situation. We gave them jobs, but mostly we just filled them with hope, joy, and love. And when Father Gregory, he goes and speaks all over the world. He wrote a book called Tattoos on the Heart, which is one of my favorite books. But every time he goes and speaks, he brings 2 ex-gang members with him. And he says, I give them 5 minutes in front of every talk. And we do a Q&A, and he goes, they're always scared to death. He goes, I love, because he looks exactly like you would think Father Gregory Boyle looks like. And he brings these guys that look like Ramon with him. And they stand and they do a talk. So this is a video of Father Gregory Boyle and one of the men that he brought with him. Watch this video.
I should tell you that Mario, in our 30-year history at Homeboy, is the most tattooed individual who's ever worked there. His arms are all sleeved out, neck blackened with the name of his gang, head shaved, covered in tattoos, forehead, cheeks, chin, eyelids that say the end, so that when he's lying in his coffin, there's no doubt. And so I'd never been in public with him, and we're walking and people are like this and mothers are clutching their kids more closely. I'm thinking, wow, isn't that interesting? Because if you were to go to Homeboy on Monday and ask anybody there who's the kindest, most gentle soul who works there, they won't say me, they'll say Mario. He sells baked goods at the counter at our cafe. He's proof that only the soul that ventilates the world with tenderness has any chance of changing the world. So the nighttime talk comes and it's 1,000 people, and I invite them up to share their stories in front of all these people for 5 minutes each. They were terrified, but they did a good job. And honest to God, if their stories had been flames, you'd have to keep your distance, otherwise you'd get scorched. I invite them up for Q&A, and I said, yes, ma'am. And a woman stands and she says, yeah, I got a question. It's for Mario. First question out the gate. And Mario steps up to the microphone. He's a tall drink of water, skinny, and clutching the microphone, and he's terrified. Yes. And she says, well, you say you're a father and you have a son and a daughter who are about to enter their teenage years. What advice do you give them? What wisdom do you impart to them? And Mario clutches his microphone and he's just terrified and he's trembling and he's getting a hernia. And finally he blurts out, and he stops and he retreats back to his microphone clutching, terrified retreat. But he wants to get this whole sentence out. I just don't want my kids to turn out to be like me. And there's silence until the woman who asked the question stands, and now it's her turn to cry, and she says, why wouldn't you want your kids to turn out to be like you? You are loving, you are kind, you are gentle, you are wise. I hope your kids turn out to be like you. And 1,000 total perfect strangers stand, and they will not stop clapping. And all Mario can do is hold his face in his hand, so overwhelmed with emotion that this room full of people, strangers, had returned him to himself, and they were returned to themselves. And I think you go from here to stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And you stand with the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. and you stand with those whose dignity has been denied, and you stand with those whose burdens are more than they can bear, and you stand with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless. Make those voices heard.
So I teach a class called the Theology of Compassion and Justice at Justice University. And one of their tests is they have to watch this video, and they sit and listen to it, and then they watch it again, and then they have to write. And at the top it says, only the soul that ventilates the world with tenderness has any chance of changing the world. And I tell them, just write whatever comes to you. And so one of my students this week wrote this: tenderness is often seen as weakness in today's world. But this quote reminds me that it's actually one of the greatest strengths. Real change doesn't come from anger or power alone. It comes from compassion. When we open our hearts to the suffering of others, we begin to see humanity as one connected family. Standing with the disposable means recognizing that no one is truly disposable. Every person has worth, even those who society overlooks or pushes aside. We live in a time when it's easy to scroll past other people's pain, but the challenge here is to stop and care, to make space for tenderness. Standing with the poor, the voiceless, and the powerless means not just feeling sorry for them, but acting alongside them. It means listening to their stories, amplifying their voices, and working for justice so that no one feels unseen or unheard. Tenderness doesn't just mean softness. It means courage. The courage to care in a world that often rewards indifference. If we can treat each other with gentleness and empathy, we can create a world that values every life. Real change begins not with grand speeches, but with small acts of kindness that ripple outward. The world doesn't just need stronger people, it needs gentler ones. You see, when I read that, I realize this statement, love everyone, everywhere you go, is a statement that has the power to not just change a community, but to literally change the world. As Christians right now, we're known as a group of people that are standing and pointing. What if we became known as a group of people that passionately pursued what it means to love everyone? What if you could sit in the place and instead of voicing your opinion, you could listen? What if we could be in the place instead of saying, this is right, we sat with somebody that looked completely different than us, that came from a completely different place, and we asked them, how does this make you feel? Help me understand, help me grow, help me become a better person. That reset button that I feel like I keep needing to hit. 25 years ago, I sat in a room and I listened to this song, Blessed Be Your Name. And the line is, my heart will choose to say, blessed be the name of the Lord. When the darkness closes in, still I'm going to say, blessed be your name. And I listened to that on repeat over and over and over again, because I believe that our calling as Christians is to bless people, is to love people, is to bring hope to people, and to stop being people of conflict and opinions, and to become people that love everyone, everywhere you go.